we're going to talk about street fights, right? Street fights are always a good time, when you're not involved in them, for sure. Some people just want to watch other people get in fights, probably because they'll never get in one themselves. That's me. I am that person, right? So back in like 2011, 2012, I used to hang out with one of my buddies. I'm not going to say his name, but he's been featured in a couple stories already. But his whole thing was he just liked to get drunk and get into like fights. Like that was like his whole thing. I don't know like why he enjoyed doing this as much as he did, but like he just loved to get drunk and then get into like street fights. That was like his shit. Like it was like bro shit too. Like it's not even just like beef. Like it'd be different if it was like a beef thing, but it's not like a beef thing, and I'll get into why in a second, right? So we would constantly go out to parties and stuff, and they would always get into these fights all the time. Him and his whole crew of boys, which were like constantly rotating crew of just random dudes. Now there's like this little like, I want to say a suburb, but like that doesn't really do it justice outside of my hometown. It's like just a section of my hometown that pretends it's like a different city, even though it's not, bro. Like it's not a different city. It's the same fucking shit. It pretends that it's a different part of the city. It doesn't make any sense. It's like really dumb. About to fucking revolver people real quick. But like they pretend they're like a different part of the city, probably because they just don't want to claim our dusty ass, ghetto ass city, dude, to be honest. And like the people there are interesting, dude. They like think they're country, but they're from like a pretty major metropolitan area, so I don't really understand where this whole country bebop vibe is come from. But either way, their idea of a good time was to go to random bonfires, right? That's like it. That's some real Midwest shit, like for real, bonfires. Just going to someone's parents' house backyard to just go by a big fire that has like fucking tires and like other disgusting shit that should not be in a fire in it. So we would always be going out there. I'd always go around with them, mainly because they're, a couple of them were my friends. Other ones were just kind of associates. But I wouldn't say they were all my friends for sure. But I would always go with them, mainly because I didn't trust them to like not get wasted and drive home. So I would always go with them to try to make sure my friends didn't die, basically, is like the whole reason I would go for the most part, which sounds really sad now in retrospect, but it's for real. It's true. Like half the reason I even went to these parties was just to make sure my friends did not fucking die on the way home by like driving a Chevy Silverado into a tree, right? So I would always go with them, and it was not really a good time, but most of the time I would just smoke a bunch of weed and like hope to God that I could enjoy myself for 5 minutes before the bullshit started. That's basically how it went down majority of the time. So a couple of particular ones were hanging out at my buddy's. His mom had like this weird like salon, but it was like half a salon and half of like a truck garage. It was like super strange. I don't know. It was a really weird setup, but whatever. I don't know if she let us hang out there or he's just, would just go there. And this guy is like hands down one of the fucking dumbest people I've ever met. It's not even a contest. Like, and it's fucked up because I don't actually think he's this dumb, but I think he just like decided that that's his like personality. He's gonna be a fucking idiot, and he's just like, I'm gonna do it as best as I possibly can. Like, that's basically the kind of person this is. I feel like we've all had one of those guys in our friend group or two, right? He's just fucking idiot. Like, and that's just his whole goal in life is just be dumber than everybody else. So like, he has this thing, and one of my best friends at the time has gotten into some beefs with these other guys. Like, some other small town shit. There was for some reason, these guys would just love to just go to other small towns and then just fight dudes from those small towns. Like, that was like their thing. It was like West Side Story for people who listen to Alan Jackson. Weird as shit. It was super weird. Also, no female involved, ever, for the most part. Like, ever. This was all about, like, turf or something. I am not entirely sure. I still haven't really fully gotten it. I've asked a few times. Nobody can give me a clear answer as to what's going on here. But he had went to this like local fair in a small town recently, and some guys had tried to jump him outside of the local fair. The reasoning was not 100% clear. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was for. It was probably for like a girl or something. I don't really know, but at least the girl in general, I don't know who it was, so I don't even think that was necessarily accurate. I think it was just like some alpha male puff my chest stuff, but they tried to jump him outside this local fair, dude, which like is about as stupid as it sounds for sure. So, and by jump him, I mean like they basically just yelled at him from their truck and then like pretended like they were gonna fight him, but they weren't actually gonna fight him. You know, it's like small town jumps. They're like a little bit different than like your normal like jumpings that would occur in like a more urban area. You know, it's a little bit different. And most of the time, nothing actually occurs. It's just like a bunch of like screaming at people from pickup trucks and then like throwing a beer bottle or two. Basically, is what happens. So. That's the backstories. They try to like jump him or whatever. So one night we're chilling at this this like shop or whatever. I don't know what to really call it, but we're basically in a garage that smells like diesel and fucking sadness and just drinking basically is what's happening. I'm getting high as fuck. My buddy is like selling some herb at the time, so you know, he gets a call from this dude. So this dude calls him, right? And how he got his number, I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of a weird situation, but he basically just calls him and is like, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass. He's like wasted and he's just calling him, like talking shit, saying he's gonna like fight him or something. And like, I'm like, okay. And he's like, all right, well, here's my address. Like, you're gonna come fight me right now. So I'm like, okay, what was that about? And he's like, all right, yeah, dude, this dude who I'm gonna name Jeff. I don't know. I'm not gonna say his actual name. He's probably doing things with his life now. Jeff's about to come fight. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean he's about to come fight? He's like, oh yeah, he's gonna drive here right now and we're gonna fight outside in the parking lot. Keep in mind, it's like midnight, right? And we're like 10 deep in here, all dudes, right? Just the boys hanging out. Not a woman to be seen. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna go very poorly because either my man is rolling up with like deep with his friends, and then all my friends are gonna fight them, and it's gonna be like 10 on 10 outside. Or, even worse, my friends being as wasted as they are gonna jump this guy for no reason whatsoever. I don't really know exactly how this is gonna go, but I just know it's gonna be poor. So finally, dude shows up, and he's like dressed head to toe in Aeropostale gear. Like, Aeropostale from hat to socks, dude. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Who the fuck is this guy? And why are you beefing with this guy? You guys are dressed in fucking shitty ass jeans and like cowboy boots. Like, why are you beefing with this like wannabe Abercrombie and Fitch model over here? Whatever. It's besides the point. So I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, oh my God, here we go again, dude. And I know exactly what's going to happen. And the reason I know exactly what's going to happen is because it always goes the same way. And it went exactly that same way this night, right? He rolls up, dude parks his car. He's in a fucking Saturn. Like, right, his boy, I think it was a girl who drove him there. It was like a girl drove him there in like a Sunfire. Like a purple Sunfire. And he pops out the car and he's like screaming. And by the way, this part of town that we're in is not a part of town that you want to A, be outside at night, and B, screaming in the middle of the street, dressed like you are in the middle of the night. You do not want to do that. This is a bad place, right? So he's screaming, and my buddy comes out, and they start fighting, right? And it is about as fucking lame as you could expect. Like, you know, there's a lot of this, like when you have someone who like kind of cocks back a little bit, where they like put their arms back and kind of do a little bit of this, like they're dodging a punch that doesn't actually exist. You know, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like pretty weak ass punches being thrown. Not to critique fighting styles, because your boy isn't exactly like an MMA legend or anything, but like, you know, there's certain things I can critique, and this is definitely one of them. So they start fighting a little bit. A couple punches get thrown, none landed whatsoever. Dude gets on top of him and then finally just starts rocking him in the face or whatever. Girl is freaking the fuck out, screaming and shit. I'm convinced the cops are gonna come, like, which is not good because your boy is holding quite a bit at that time, which is not a good time. You do not want the cops to roll up when you have as much herb on you as I did. Really at that time, any herb, but I was holding quite deep at that point, which was not good. So I'm like kind of freaking out a little bit, but I'm also realizing, dude, there's one key element that I wasn't really thinking about. And that's the fact that like there's a bunch of country dudes, all right? The cops probably don't really care very much realistically, so it's fine. And I'm like, all right, whatever. They start fighting, and then the strangest thing I've ever seen occurred. And this is like the first time I had ever seen this before, but later I would come to see this quite frequently. They got done fighting, and you know, we called the fight off. We're like, all right, fight's over. And then they got up and hugged, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, they were like, good shit, bro. Started shaking up, hugging each other. Super weird. And I'm like, I'm confused because I'm like, bro, just like 20 minutes ago, this dude was calling his phone, talking about how he's going to kill him. And now they're like hugging and shit. I had never seen this before, dude. This is some weirdo energy. I'm sorry. Like, you cannot threaten to murder someone and then hug them 20 minutes later after you get beat up. This is 100% some white people shit. This is the most white people shit. There's nothing whiter in the world than this. Crazy. So, like, they're hugging and shit. And then, all of a sudden, just without notice whatsoever, the dude gets up to go to leave. And then he's like, hey, bro, are you trying to kick it next week? I'm sorry, fucking what? Dude was like, yo, you're pretty cool, bro. You trying to hang out? And then my buddy's like, yeah, for sure, dude. Like, yo, let's kick it, dude. Let's go hit a party next week, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they're having like a fucking conversation now. My man is kind of bleeding from his face. I mean, he didn't really get beat up that bad. Like, it's not like they really had that crazy of a fight. But keep in mind, these guys did not know each other prior to this. Like, they knew of each other, but they were not aware of each other in that capacity, right? They were just kicking it, I guess. They were like, oh, yeah, you know what? We got in a fight. You guys were cool about this. We're going to be boys now. And I'm so confused. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude? Yeah, it's Samurai Honor, but for whiteys. I'm like, what is going on here, dude? So yeah, no, they shake up, they like dap up or whatever, and then, or whatever a 2011 version of that is. And then they just like go about their merry way. And I'm convinced that I'm never going to see this guy again, for sure. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. That's just some drunk white guy shit. They're both adrenalined up. They're like, yeah, the guy doesn't want to seem like he lost, so he's like, let's be friends now. No, dude. After this point, I saw this fucking guy every weekend for like a solid year and a half. He was always coming through, always kicking it. And he joined the crew. So they would always go and get into more fights with more people. So like, this was not the end of this guy's time. One very memorable fight I remember specifically was, we went to another small town in the area, right? Because their favorite activity would be to go and they would hear about random parties from like one person. They would show up to a house that they didn't know a single person except for that one person at. And they would roll up 10 dudes, no women, just 10 dudes and Bruce. That's what they would do. So they would show up in like 3 different pickup trucks, 10 deep, all dudes, bringing absolutely nothing of substance to the party situation whatsoever. This is why we always drove separate, because I was not trying to be involved in this. Like, absolutely not. Like, I will go, but I will drive separately so that they think I'm just like not affiliated with you at all. So we went out to this one small town, and you know, normal routine, right? They're specifically going out to try to fight the people at this other town, right? I know they're not explicitly saying that, but I know for a fact that if we're going to another small town in the area, like 10 deep, nothing good is going to come from this night. We are not going to have a good time, for sure. We are going to get kicked out of this party. Like, for sure. There is a very, I would say, I don't think it's famous or anything, but there is like a how to start a bro fight video by Jimmy Totoro from like the early 2010s, and it perfectly describes my friend group at this point in time. Always rolling up, no women, 30 rack, taking shirts off, punching stuff, to a T. So we go out there and it's like, it's going pretty good at first, which is typically how it goes. It's usually going pretty good. Like, shit's going good. I'm usually like smoking weed in the back. Dude, none of these guys smoked weed. Obviously, if they did, maybe they wouldn't have been so psychotic. But like, I'm chilling. It's all good, I think, for now. I'm like, you know what, dude, this is cool. We actually know more than one person at this party. Like, we know a few different people, here. So I'm like, maybe they'll be on their best behavior. There's like a bunch of women, so like maybe they will think about something else other than hugging men after a fist fight for once. I don't know, not sure, not 100% positive. Obviously, you know, if I'm telling this story, that's not what happened. We did not sit down and have a good time. So like I see them chatting up to some other dudes. I mean, obviously we've been getting mean mugs since we walked in, since we're 10 men deep and nobody knows who we are. Obviously that's going to happen. So talking to some dude out on the like little smoke patio area, you know, and I go out there and I see like my good friend who was just in the fight story earlier chatting up this guy, right? They have the same first name. You know, they have a kind of uncommon first name, which is why I don't say their first name. Kind of an uncommon first name. So, you know, they're like, oh, dude, we have the same first name. That's super cool. And, you know, I will give them credit. It's kind of a rare first name, so it's weird to run into 2 people with that same first name. Crazy, right? But then it takes a little bit of a turn. they start fighting over who's the real first name. Let's just say their name was like Waldo, right? They're like, nah, man, I'm actually the real version. Like, I'm the real one. You're actually like a fake. And the guy, my buddy's like, no, man, I'm actually the real one. Like, well, we can only have one at a party, so, you know, you would expect this to be calm and just not, you know, happen the way it's gonna happen. No, fuck that. Absolutely not. Beer bottle gets thrown. Instantaneously, crash. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go, dude. I don't even need to, like, be in the vicinity to know what's going on. I hear the beer bottle get thrown. I know it's my friends. I fucking absolutely know it's my friends. I don't even have to second guess the fact that it's them. Like, I could not be anyone else but them. And I look inside as these two fucking idiots are fighting over who gets to have the first name at this house party, I guess, or something. And wouldn't you know it, my other friends are out there engaging or beginning to engage in the beginnings of a fucking fight, right? What it's over, could not tell you, dude. Could not tell you what it's about. I don't know. It's something stupid, I'm sure. Like, somebody drank someone's beer, or like they just, you know, whatever. Somebody said their small town was better than the other one. Keep in mind, I'm not from one of these small towns, dude. I am from what I can only, well, I could say confidently is described and has been ranked in the top 10 most dangerous cities in the United States list out of the last fucking 10 years, 7 times in the top 5. Okay, so I am not from one of these podunk towns, though I would go hang out in them because they're out in our surrounding areas, right? So I'm not from one of these towns, and my high school had a fair amount of shootings. So, like, not like, you know, school type ones, but just like gangland ones. So, like, I'm not ever really too worried about gun violence at these things. It's just a bunch of dudes fighting for, like, West Side Story territory reasons, you know? Like, it's whatever, but, like, I'm thinking it's just normal shit. Like, they're gonna fight. Like, it is what it is. But then, you know, I hear the beer bottle get thrown. I know this is about to escalate into some fucking dumbassery of a whole different level at this point. So, brawling begins immediately. One of our buddies throws a punch. All of a sudden, all like 8 of the people we're with just roll up and start punching random people. They just start fighting all the friends. Like, they already had the targets picked out too. That's the fucked up part. Because this would always happen. It would be like, the 2 guys who were like evenly matched in like stature would always start fighting, and I've always been curious on like if people pre-selected their targets. Like, I don't know. I haven't heard my friends outright do this before. Like, I had never heard them outright be like, all right, if shit pops off, I'm gonna fight this guy or whatever, you know. But like, it always seemed to work out like that, so it's possible that they did, and I just wasn't around for this part of the evening most of the time. Like, I'm not really sure, to be honest. But it always seemed like the guys of similar physical build were always fighting each other. That I can say for certain. So a massive brawl just starts going off. Like, massive, dude. Like, I mean, it's like the party only has like 30 people, and like half of them are involved in this brawl at this point. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm sitting there like, I don't really know what to do at this point. Because like, my friends started it, right? Not only did they start it, it's a pretty evenly matched fight. There's no jumping occurring. Nothing's happening at this moment. Like, it's just kind of like 8v8, right? No one's really fighting that hard. There's no knives or anything. So I'm just kind of like, I'm going to sit here and just like let this play out. My other buddy's like going to do the same. We're just kind of posted at this point. So the fight goes on. A bunch of shit gets broken. This girl's house just gets fucked up for no reason whatsoever. And then finally it gets separated because nothing really happened. A couple like, you know, red faces, some like blood a little bit or whatever. The fight, very whack. Yeah, no zip guns. So like, it gets broken up, and then they start like repping their set, but it's like their town, you know? Like, it's super weird. They're like, yeah, that's how we do it in this town. And they're like, well, that's how we do it in this town, right? And this goes on for a solid 4 or 5 minutes, right? And then we're getting kicked out of the party, obviously. I never got kicked out, but I decided to leave for obvious reasons, you know, because I didn't fucking know anyone there aside from a couple people who were already kicked out. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to bounce too. Now, on the way out, it gets petty in the parking lot, right? So we're leaving, you know, obviously. They kick us out, but they only kick us out to the door. Nobody actually came out to the outside of the party to make sure we A, left, or B, did not fuck shit up, which is a rookie mistake. If you kick a group of 10 dudes out of your house party, always, and I mean always, make sure to watch them leave the property, because chances are they're going to do something fucked up on the way out. Like, they might steal some shit, they might break some shit, they might do some combo of the two, and we always did a combo of the two. So I am like, okay, you know, this is not good. So I see them being mischievous out in the parking area, and I'm like, oh, god damn it. Like, here we go. It's another place I'm never going to be able to come back over here now. So I watch them just start fucking people's cars up, and I'm like, oh, no. And I know for a fact they don't know whose car's who. Like, they're just doing it for funsies at this point. I don't know what this guy in our group, who is not my friend, I will say very firmly that this guy was not my friend, and he was never my friend. He fucking sucked. Right? I don't know what exactly he did to this guy's truck, but like, he fucking broke it in some capacity. He like broke the like axle of the truck somehow. I don't know how he did this. There's like a part of the truck that's under, I'm not a car guy, all right, leave me alone. Like, under the truck, he like broke it somehow, so the car just wouldn't work. It like wouldn't drive. He like fucked it up super bad. I only know this because one of my buddies got a call later that night from one of the girls that we knew there that was like, hey, did you fuck this guy's truck up? And he was like, no, why would you think that? And she's like, because you just got in a fist fight with them and you do these things, this is your known MO. And he's like, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do that. And she's like, are you sure? Because everyone says that you did it. And he's like, nah, I would never. He 100% did it. Like, his buddy did it for sure. He definitely fucked the truck up. Tires got slashed. That was all of them. They did all of it, 100%. And look, I'll be honest, I didn't tell them to stop, mainly because I'm like, they're not going to fucking listen to me. They're not going to listen to the hippie. Of course not. They never do. They never listen to me. Ever. Every time I'm like, hey guys, we should have a nice chill night and not go fight random strange men. Never. They never listen to me, ever, dude. They would always be like, shut up, you're a pussy. Absolutely, 100%, I agree. But look, the reality of the situation, we should still have a night where we don't go fight strange men. I'm sorry. That should be a thing that we do. So yeah, that was pretty bad. That went poorly. We did not go back to that town for a long period of time. Fun fact, the people who were actually the people my buddies were fighting, I actually know them now, and they're pretty chill guys, dude. They actually were much more chill than my friends that did the beginning waves of fighting, for sure. I stand firm on that. Like, they're pretty chill. They just do a bunch of ketamine and stuff. They're cool guys, you know? It's all good. Third and final one. There's this place called, I mean, it's from my hometown, so it doesn't really matter, but it's like in my hometown, but slightly outside of it. It's whatever. But anyways, it's like this dude, he must have just got back from college or something, but he had gotten this like kind of shitty ranch style house in the middle of like a suburban like neighborhood and turned it into like what you could consider the ultimate bachelor pad, is what it was told to me. Let me just go ahead and explain the ultimate bachelor pad to you real quick. The ultimate bachelor pad was a very normal upstairs, like with like shitty ass carpet and like a pit crew couch, dude, that's made out of like microfiber, like a microfiber sectional, right? A big ass TV, but it's like one of those ones that's on the boxes with wheels, because this is 2010. And then in the basement is, I'm not shitting you, a stripper pole that I never saw anybody on ever in my entire life. For sure. Never. Not one time. Right? Stripper pole surrounded by a couch for viewing reasons, you know. There's never anything to view. A full-sized bar, and then in the corner, and this is how you know this shit was peak 2011, 2010, 2011, a installed, and I mean it, an installed with cup indent beer pong table. And when I say installed, this wasn't one of those like ones from Spencer's with the little indentations that you could fold up and put in the closet. No, this bad boy was straight up installed into the floor. This thing could not be moved. It was literally a fixture. It was a fixtured, custom-made beer pong table. Okay? And to be honest, if it was for anything else aside from beer pong, it might have been fucking cool. But it was a beer pong table, so it was pretty whack, right? It was pretty trash. This place, we went to the parties there a few times. No big deal. I mean, nothing of note really happened. Any of the times that we went there, it was kind of just like, whatever. But this night, I kind of had a suspicion that something was going to go on because my friends rolled up extra deep. Right, normally we'd be like 4 or 5 deep there, so we were on our best behavior. This time, they were like, including me, I'm not shitting you, 13 men deep. Like, minimum 13 dudes. I think it possibly could have been more that we invited, because we just started spam texting. Like, I say we, but I don't actually mean we, because I've never been involved in this bullshit. But my friend started spam texting about this party, like, yo, we got this banger we're about to go to, like, you guys should roll through, come through, you know. And I'm like, let's not tell all these people, dude. We don't need to, like, you know, we don't need to telegraph what we're up to by showing up this deep to the party. But then I took some benzos at the party, and then I started to really not care that much, realistically. So I was chilling on anti-anxiety medication, posted up, and I'm like, you know what? It's whatever. Do whatever the fuck you guys want. So, you know, we're like 14 deep. I know the writing's on the wall. Like, I already know what the fuck's going on tonight. Like, this is about to suck, dude. I know it's about to be a terrible fucking time. So I'm like, whatever. My cousin's getting off work soon. My cousin Gas Pump, who I used to do shrooms with and stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go holler at him. Let me see if he wants to come, because I need someone that's going to be like level-headed with me here. Like, or as level-headed as two people who do mushrooms every weekend can be, realistically. So I holler at him. He's like, I'm getting off in like 10 minutes, right? Everything seems to be going fine. Like, I'll be gone for 30 minutes. Okay? That's it. I'll be gone for like 30 minutes, absolute tops. So the guy who owns the house, I am on friendly enough terms with him. Like, I know who he is. He knows who I am. He knows I'm not there to fuck his house up. So he's like pretty chill. And I ask him before I leave, I'm like, hey man, are you guys going to be partying for a while? I'm going to go pick up my cousin, Gas Pump. He knows him too. So he's like, oh yeah, we'll be partying for a minute, dude. It's all good. So I'm like, okay, dude, so that's cool. And I'm going to go pick up Gas Pump and this girl I'm talking to. So I'm going to go pick up two people. Which, why I brought any woman into this environment is beyond me. It's pure stupidity. Only an 18-year-old would think of. So I'm like, yeah, dude, because this is going to make me look good. I had just met this girl not too long before. So, you know, obviously I was trying to make a good impression by taking her to the house with the stripper pole like a classy gentleman, for sure. So I go pick both of them up and we drive back. I notice when I pull up that there's a lot less cars, but it doesn't really dawn on me, like, really what's going on. And, like, I park the car. You know, we get out, we walk up. There's broken glass fucking everywhere, dude. I mean, like, everywhere. And you can see, like, there's still wrappers, too. So it's, like, King Cobra 40s. There's, like, a Smirnoff bottle. And I'm like, that's weird. That's not good. And I noticed really quickly that I don't see any of my friends' cars. That, at least the ones that rolled up that I saw, not one. So I'm like, oh, that's bad. That's a bad omen. So, like, I just walk in the house, like, because, you know, I talk to the guys, whatever. I'm not just walking into a random house or anything, you know what I mean? So I walk into the house and I'm like walking around and there seems to be no one here. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. Like, no one seems to be here. That's not good. Like, okay. Finally, I found the guy who owns the house and I'm like, all right, hey, bro, like, what's up, dude? Where's everyone at? I thought you said it was gonna be going on. He's like, oh, yeah, man. He's like, these guys that were here, I don't know if you know them, but, like, you know, he started describing my friends, and I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of them, for sure. I know who they are. And he's like, yeah, so they just, I don't know what happened. They just started getting really aggressive over beer pong, and then they just started trying to fight a bunch of different people. And then, like, these random guys came in, and, like, immediately when they walked in, they just started mean mugging each other, and then, like, they went outside to fight. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, and dude, the cops were just here last weekend. So when that happened, I just told everybody they had to leave. Like, I was just like, I had to kick everybody out at that point. Because, like, once they started fighting in the street, my neighbors were definitely calling the cops. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, dude. That's cool. Like, I feel you, man. That's fine. I was like, he's like, yeah, I mean, you guys can stay and chill if you want. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and leave. But thanks for the heads up. So I don't know what's happening, right? I just know, obviously, my friends are involved because they're dumb as fuck. So obviously, they're going to be the ones who did this. There's no possible way that A, they weren't involved, and B, they didn't fucking outright start it. There's no way. 0% chance that they, you know, are not involved. I would say a 20% chance they didn't start it, right? Let's just put it, these guys always started it. They may claim that they didn't start it, but they always started it in some capacity. So, you know, I'm like, oh, great. That's good. That's good. I'm glad. I'm super glad that they're not here for this. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'm calling all of them and none of them are answering. And I'm like, okay, well, that's bad. Like, the fact that they're not answering is probably a bad omen. So I finally get a hold of them, and they're like, yeah, come back to the blah blah blah's house, obviously, and we'll tell you what happened. And I was like, okay. So I finally get back there. We're like posted up or whatever. They're just fucking wasted, dude. When I left, they were not that drunk. I don't know what happened. Because this is like 40 minutes has gone by. It has not been that long, dude. It has been a very short period of time. And in 40 minutes, they went from like pretty chill, normal, not really that drunk, to just fucking wasted. And I'm like, okay. And it's a kind of a long drive from that place back to their house too, which obviously means they were drinking and driving. So great. That's good. I'm glad they were doing that. That's fucking awesome. Right. So I'm like, okay, what happened? And then so I have one of the friends who is a little bit more sober and also not really involved in this fuckery. So he's like, all right, dude, here's what happened, right? These guys came in. I was like, you don't know them? They're not like prior fucking fight partners? Like, he's like, no, dude, they're not. They're just random guys. Like, they were just random guys. Like, dude was wearing a Day to Remember t-shirt. Like, one dude was driving a Subaru. Like, those kind of guys. And I'm like, oh, okay, so fucking pussy-ass car guys. Awesome, dude. Okay, anyways, like, why did we fight them? Well, they walked in and they brought like 10 dudes with them and no girls. So we got mad at that. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, isn't that what we do? Like all the time? Isn't that all we do? I was like, what do we have a monopoly on rolling up with 10 dudes and no females? Like, is that our crew? Like, does no other crew can do that? That's all right. So what ended up happening is they got mad at these guys for doing the exact same shit that they do literally constantly, and then decided that they were going to fight them. So they picked a fight over beer pong. They decided to like alpha male each other over beer pong a little bit, and I don't know what happened there, who won or who lost. I feel like that's not important, but it might be like to the story. I don't know, man. It is what it is. So they like fought each other over beer pong. We're like getting in an argument, and then somebody shoved somebody. Once again, I would bet any amount of money that it's probably my friends who shoved them first, because that's how they operated. And then they gentlemen's agreemented out to the street. And then this is what I'm being told from my friends, and I found out later from some people who were also there that were in the same crew that they were fighting, because my town is, although dangerous, quite small, so it's very unlikely that you're not going to run into these people again, for sure. Found out later, so they went out to fight, and then they started fighting, right? Well, there were more of my friends than their friends, so there was a little jumping occurring, unfortunately, which is pretty not chill. Do not recommend doing that or being a part of that. It's not cool. So, a little jumping occurring or whatever, and then someone tried to hit my buddy in the head with a Smirnoff bottle, and before he could do that, my buddy jump kicked him, which, the guy who jump kicked him, to kind of explain some of the guys in this crew, because I feel like it does provide a little bit more context. Like I said, majority of them were like dirty Wrangler, cowboy boot, cut off like construction t-shirt kind of guys, right? But then there's this one guy in the crew specifically, and I'm not going to say his name, but I'll use a pseudonym for him, and the pseudonym is Cody, because he just sounds like a Cody, does he not? So he's wearing like boot cut jeans with like some tennis shoes, and then a skin tight Under Armour thermal long sleeve, right? So like jeans, belt, skin tight, like I'm talking about like the skin tight one, long sleeve. That's his fit, right? Crew cut haircut, kind of a chubbier guy too, so it's a little interesting why he chose the long sleeve Under Armour like undershirt. Not really sure. But this man threw the jump kick at somebody, right? And when I say a jump kick, I don't mean like a kind of like a sick jump kick. I don't mean like a like a karate kick or anything. I mean like he just ran full sprint and then just like jabbed his leg out and just kicked this dude. And this dude was probably really surprised as to what's happening, right? This fight went on for all of 5 minutes, and then a bunch of hold me back in the middle, right? Like a bunch of people holding each other back, yelling and stuff, and then both people got in their cars and left. My friends, when they got in the car, they jumped in 2 trucks, and I'm not kidding, 10 deep. So some of their cars were still there, I guess. I just didn't see them, but they rolled so fucking deep. And the entire way back, from what I understood, they were just hyping each other up, dude. Because this happens. If you've ever been in a situation where you have some friends that get in a fight, and then you're driving home, inevitably they will not shut the fuck up about it for a long period of time, right? They're gonna drive home and you're gonna hear the version of the fight that you saw, but it's not gonna be the fight that you saw. It's gonna be a completely different fight that you did not witness, if you know what I mean. Right? Like, you're gonna have seen this fight, but the version that you're hearing right now is gonna be confusing because it's definitely not what happened, or at least a very misguided version of what happened. So I'm like hearing about this fight from them, and I swear to God, if you would have heard the fight from them, holy shit, dude, you would have thought Van Damme was there. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Like, the version that they told me was like significantly cooler than the version that occurred, right? The jump kick did occur, but it was not nearly as badass as it was presented to me. Like, you would have thought Van Damme did a fucking split kick on this dude the way they were talking about it, like 100%. Like, but really he just kind of threw his like fucking K-Swiss out there and kind of kicked the dude a little bit, just like knocked him off balance. But like, holy shit, the way they were talking about it, my man jumped 6 feet in the air and knocked him out cold with a clean kick, dude, like fucking Chuck Norris. Like, so apparently they drove back just hyping each other up, and then every 5 minutes they would stop the car and get out and get road beers, right? Like, not kidding, because I had one buddy who was in the car that was like not feeling the situation at all. He definitely let me know when I got back there that it was not chill, right? So yeah, dude, they're like hyping it up. I get back, I'm talking to them and stuff. They're fucking hyped, right? And then they all get mad at me because I asked them if they really needed to fight these guys, and apparently that was the most offensive thing I could have possibly said to them. They were so pissed. They're like, you weren't even there, dog. You don't even know what they did. The disrespect, man. They disrespected us. And I was like, how did they disrespect you? And they never provided a clear reason. But those are some of the fun times I had with my hillbilly friends that decided that their favorite thing in life was to go fight random people at house parties. So, you know, it is what it is. Not the most exciting stories in the world, but holy shit, are they dumb.